Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 14th Chapter, text number 47. Yat prasadadidam vishwam prasidati yadatmakam sasvadrig bhagavan yasya doshyate nanyaya drisha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with a devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The supreme personality of Godhead is situated everywhere as a super soul, and he can dictate to anyone and everyone as he likes. The would-be grandson of Diti, who was predicted to be a great devotee, would be liked by everyone, even by the enemies of his father, because he would have no other vision besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure devotee of the Lord sees the presence of his worshipable Lord everywhere. The Lord reciprocates in such a way that all living entities in whom the Lord is dwelling as a super soul also like a pure devotee, because the Lord is present in their hearts and can dictate to them to be friendly to his devotee. There are many instances in history wherein even the most ferocious animal became friendly to a pure devotee of the Lord. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
So, the greatness of the grandson who would be born to Diti, which is Prahlad Maharaj, as predicted by Kashyapa Muni himself. Being a Muni, he could see that. The glories of that grandson is being described. Here it says that everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of God, or the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with the devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him. So this was a characteristic of Prahlad, and this is a characteristic of all pure devotees of the Lord. They have no other wish in their life other than attaining the Supreme Lord and Supreme Lord's service. So that is the very specific quality of an advanced devotee, is that his consciousness does not escape the presence of the Lord in every situation. In any situation, it does not escape his presence. And his presence is also understood. His gracious presence everywhere is also understood in terms of what relationship he has to that situation, according to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So thus he sees the presence of the Lord in an active phase. The Lord, even in this material world, is active. Though he is not materially active, but he is active. If he has no action to perform with respect to the living entities, why he should sit in the heart of everyone? So he is seated in the heart of everyone. From him comes knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. And he is the one who maintains, devours and develops all living entities. Even material development is also given by him. Materially, when everything is devoured from a person and he is made a pauper, that is also done by him. Or the society rejects him, total infamy, that is also his doing. So he devours and develops all living entities and maintains them. These are all the things that are given in the scriptures, the statement of the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. So the Lord is the devotee sees the Lord as very active, but he is transcendently active. So unless we are able to see the Lord being active in every situation in a manner in which the Shastras have approved, one will not be able to develop or retain one's continuous consciousness when living in this material world. One's consciousness, because when one is in this body, he has to live in this material world, he has to deal with the material body, he has to maintain his body according to his karma, different activities he is pushed to do. He is always active. 3 modes of material nature is moving his life with kala, with time. And the consciousness is all involved there, is all trapped there. It is not that he can stay aloof from that. He has to eat, he has to sleep, everything. The whole kala is pushing the devotee, everybody in the material world through these phases. So a pure devotee of the Lord's ambition or goal is to connect everything that he does in true terms with the Lord. And what is the Lord's relationship with them? What does the Lord want me to do? What is the Lord's indication here? Not a blade of grass will move without his sanction. What kind of response the Lord is expecting from me here? And the devotee is thinking, how can I satisfy the Lord according to the expectation of the Lord? So everywhere, especially in the case of the devotees, the Lord is acting as the Jagat Guru or as the Chaitya Guru. In that role he is acting, in the role of enlightening the living entities to come out of this attachment to this material world and become transcendental and attain his lotus feet. The Lord himself seated in their heart, he facilitates every jiva to become liberated from this material world. But such mercy of the Lord comes to the devotee of the Lord, yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadat. So the personal mercy of the Lord of the devotee is very essential for us to get the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord. So anyway, here when it comes to, Prahlad, why the Lord is so pleased with him? Because he does not wish for anything beyond him. The devotees who are surrendered to the Lord have no other desire than the desire of the Lord. Not that he does not have desires, how can it be without? Not that he doesn't wish anything. He wishes, thinking and having faith that Krishna is in his heart and making him wish. And he always thinks that if you so desire, because in case that wish is, my mind is concocting some wish for my personal gratification, therefore he always adds, he has faith that the Lord's wish will manifest, but simultaneously he has no faith in himself. His own mind he has no faith. But because of his prayers to the Lord sees that this devotee is always wanting my desires for him. This devotee is always fearful about his own mind and false ego's desires. The Lord intervenes in the form of mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. In the form of remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, he dictates to the devotee, and in this way the devotee is always guided. Prabhupada is giving example of how many, there's so many instances that even most ferocious animal became friendly to a pure devotee of the Lord. So Lord is seated in the heart. If he wants, he can, if he decides, he can dictate to anybody, and that person will be just like a puppet. He will be just like a puppet. He will simply repeat. But that is a very special favor that the Lord shows upon the person upon whom the Lord dictates like that. Because unless you are surrendered, you don't get dictation. That is for yourself. Now for your Lord's service, you want something, it doesn't mean that from a non-devotee, Lord won't dictate. Because He is the one who is maintaining, developing, devouring everyone. In the form, how does the Lord have control over the living entities? In the form of knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. He holds the switch. And the person will think, okay, it is my decision. Actually, it will be the Lord's decision. How do you influence somebody? The Lord does not simply give one decision like that into his heart. He gives the logic, and he thinks that logic is his logic. And then he thinks that I have decided it. So the Lord gives the logic, gives the understanding in the form of knowledge, in the form of intelligence. And then he will not have little doubt that it is he who has decided it, because of these reasons. But those reasons are all given by the Lord himself seated in the heart, step by step, step by step. So that way, if you see, Super Soul is the most powerful influencer of living entities. He can influence the living entity to go for liberation also. But he never influences somebody to surrender to him. He leaves that job to his devotees. This is Super Soul. Therefore it is said that Krishna takes one devotee to the spiritual master. So to that degree he will influence. What is his influence? Somehow the devotee, the potential devotee thinks, understands, realizes, Dukharayam Ashashvatam, where is God? What am I? Who am I? All these questions. And then the answers to that, this kind of influences. Little is there, little inclination is there, the Paramatma immediately provides all support from within the heart to take such a person to a devotee of the Lord. And by that influence of the pure devotee of the Lord, then he can develop bhakti. That is why it is said that by Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasadat, and you get the Lord's mercy or you get Lord's bhakti because of the blessings of a pure devotee. So, one should not think that the living entity is free will in this material world, is completely free to do anything and everything. No. Not only he is restricted by his guna, kala and karma, his free will, it can also be influenced by the Super Soul. So that way nobody is free. How Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita in one purport, Prabhupada is talking about how the modern scientists have created such powerful weapons that can destroy the world. At the same time, Prabhupada says that without the sanction of the Lord, none of those weapons will get used. So that way devotee is fearless, he is not fearful of anything. In fact, the biggest war, Kurukshetra war, the Lord was telling Arjuna, where is kill everybody. If it is his wish, then everything will get wiped out. World war, all these things, actually accidents don't happen. It is the Lord's wish to clean up the non-devotees on the earth. Big wars happen, famine happen, Adhyatmik, Adidhaivik kleshas come upon the earth because of the will of the Lord. So Lord is very active at a micro level in each living entity's heart. At a macro level, the Lord is available, Krishna is available, Krishna is. So this is by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, you come to understand that the Lord is all-pervading. Prabhupada says this, he starts saying that he is all-pervading. He is situated everywhere as a super soul, and he can dictate to anyone and everyone he likes. He can dictate to anyone and everyone he likes. So this is the reason also the devotees have faith and they always pleading to the Lord in the heart. He is Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He is pleading to the Lord in the heart. And very mystically, if somebody prays to the Lord, 100% the Lord will influence that person's thinking, the end result. He will surrender his thinking. The devotee surrenders his thinking. I know where, I don't believe even in my own logic. I don't even believe in my intelligence. Please, let your will manifest. Let your desire manifest. Let your pure devotee's desire manifest. Let not I interfere in your mission. Let that be revealed. Let that be influenced. Because you are capable of influencing without even me knowing. You are capable of influencing every living entity. All our free will is actually based on the knowledge we have, knowledge we get, and knowledge is simply controlled by him. What knowledge he should give. So this not only in the case of executing his mission, in the case of controlling the senses, in the case of coming out of this material world, coming out of the bodily concept, all this paradigmic knowledge, the knowledge by which we perceive things, the paradigms by which we can perceive things through which we get detached from this material world, he is the giver of that. We as tiny living entities may be able to handle elemental knowledge, here one sentence, here one sentence, here one sentence, but they're all put together. You can say more 2, 3, 4 items are there, permutation combination is so much. Is it not? How many ways you can arrange and rearrange, 2 things, 3 things, 4 things. So suppose you have about 10 items of knowledge connected to one's particular, let us say surrender to the Lord. You got 10 elements of understanding. Say 6 guidelines of surrender. So all those 6 guidelines, they build up together into a paradigm with so many other things. And to perceive what is surrender, you need the mercy of the Lord in the heart. That is the reason why, even though we may read so many things, but still we need to offer service to the Lord. Pariprashnena sevaya. Sevaya, that seva to Prabhupada is so important. And by that service, one gets this integrated perceptions by which we can become detached from the material world. Integrated perceptions from which we see that everything belongs to the Lord. Integrated perception where which we see the entire life is a flash. When we see eternity, and so many unlimited things. Because the Lord is most brilliant. He's got unlimited knowledge and unlimited intelligence. He's the most brilliant. Even to understand what what Krishna has spoken in Bhagavad Gita is also not easy. Verse by verse you may understand. But to understand the entire purport, you need a pure devotee. You need the mercy of Prabhupada. Then you get it. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. That itself has hundreds of shades. What is the right shade? So we are completely dependent upon the Paramatma, on the Super Soul, on Supreme Lord every moment, even as a spiritual aspirant, as a sadhaka, we are completely dependent on the Super Soul to guide us. Because from what we perceive, we act. How we perceive this world, we act. How we perceive different things in this world, we act accordingly. How we perceive situations in life, we act accordingly. So perception is controlled by remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. At how these things are how these things strike us a different, even though we may know so many bits of knowledge we may be having. So the influence of the Lord, the role of the Lord, He is the supreme, or He can always understand that in every situation in life, Lord is a major player. That we should not forget. The devotee does not forget. He is a major player there. And slowly with experience one starts seeing his exact role also, what he is playing also, and what he wants from me. And that is our actual goal, is how to be purely guided by the Supreme Lord, so that as Chaitya Gurus and external spiritual master, by combination of their action upon the disciple gets pure devotional service. Ultimately, the devotion to the Supreme Lord has to be given by a pure devotee, because that is his expertise. Because Lord is not a giver of bhakti, He is a taker of bhakti from jivas, isn't it? He wants bhakti from jivas. So the expert bhakta only can actually teach what is the mood of devotion service to the Lord. The mood of devotion service has to be received from a pure devotee. That is his gift. Just like when we all read Prabhupada's biography, Prabhupada's what he did, his activities, how he was empowered, we get the mood of Prabhupada. How he wanted to serve the Lord at every moment, at every opportunity, using everything in existence in service of the Supreme Lord, in service of Lord Chaitanya's movement. That mood we get. And that mood is what we also try to implement in our own lives. And that mood is something that is gift from the pure devotee. It is gift from him. Therefore we should pray to Srila Prabhupada, please give me that mood of preaching that you have, that mood of devotion to the Lord. That is the meaning of admiring and adoring this spiritual master. You should admire and adore and appreciate the devotion of the spiritual master. And then automatically it will also pass down to us by his mercy. Any questions? Jai Grandraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.